Hello everyone, I'm going to be playing in the Titled Tuesday Blitz tournament for today. It's 9 rounds against a lot of different titled players. Each of the games are 3 minutes with 1 second increment. I think they changed the game format recently, so 3 minutes with 1 second increment. We're going to be playing a lot of different Grandmasters, International Masters, National Masters, FIDE, Candidate Masters, all different kind of players. 9 games, let's kind of see how we do. It's going to start in about 30 seconds here or so. Looks like in the participants list we have Hikaru Nakamura, Parhamov, Daniel Naroditsky, Eric Hansen, a lot of very recognizable names, Georg Meyer. There's 578 players in it. So completely stacked tournament. I think if I scroll down, Anish Giri's in it. Looks like Maxime Bashir-Lagrav's in it. Vidit Gujarati's in it. So yeah, this is a stacked tournament here. We're going to get the first game underway here and see how we do. Okay, so it looks like we're against Do Not Read It. I am from Spain, I believe. So it starts off knight f3. Let's go c5 here. And I'm going to try to play pretty quickly here just because it is blitz. It's going to be a little bit hard to give as much commentary as a rapid game or something like that. So we're going to get castled. I'm going to work to play d5 here. And actually, I'm now leaning towards d4 because black kind of, or white kind of gets his bishop shut in here a little bit. So let's go d4. It's going to play e3. We'll play knight c6 and keep the pawn here. So a lot of times what white will do now is play knight a3 to c2, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and play, I think I'm going to go ahead and just play e5 at this point to solidify the center. Rook e1. I could throw in bishop b4 to harass the rook, then play rook e8 to protect the pawn. I kind of might do that, but after bishop b4, knight here, rook e8, he does have a3 and b4 gaining space over there. So I could also go ahead and play bishop g4 and look to trade off the bishop for the knight there. Another idea is simply to play knight d7, f6. That's also a reasonable option. So we can go f6, knight c5, and go after this d3 pawn. Bishop a3 is an option, it looks like. I think we'll just continue with f6 here anyways. He takes here, I'll take back with the queen, it looks like. I'd like to play knight c5. That could be an idea. Let's go. I think we can just go knight c5 and hit the pawn. And then we can trade here. If the rook takes, we have bishop f5, knight to b4. Looks like it's a little bit difficult to defend. Knight to b4, though, he does have knight takes d4. So maybe the way to go about doing this is rook to d8 first. He does also have knight h4. Oops, knight h4 and try and get rid of my bishop. Knight to b4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d3, a3. Knight b4 takes, bishop takes. It's not too bad of a situation, I don't think, quite honestly. I think we're going to go for this, actually. I'm going to take with the bishop. I guess his idea is if I take it, a3. Okay, so that didn't necessarily work as well as we thought. I was thinking the knight would take on d4 and have counterplay. The problem is I don't actually have that counterplay I intended to have. He's probably going to play like f4 here, which is going to be quite an annoying move. Okay, kicks the knight. Okay, we're getting pushed back here a bit. I'm going to get out of the pin, because it's pretty annoying to deal with. If he plays f4, he still can't take, though, because of rook takes e6. So I'm going to have to play like rook e8 pretty soon. He wants to play bishop f4, or sorry, bishop e4 here. Queen d7 is also an option for g6 pretty soon. f5. Yeah, we're down like 2 minutes. This guy's playing really, really fast. But I think I'll play g6, f5, some combination of that. Let's go here so that we can light up towards the queen. G5 is an idea to kick the knight back and then put the bishop back on F5. Let's do that. The knight's a bit misplaced, or sorry, the queen is a little bit misplaced, I think. We can now put some pressure on the pawn. Maybe put the bishop back on G6, H6. Something like this could be a little annoying for him. I do probably want to play A5 at some point. I could also play Rook C8 and kind of line up towards the queen. If he plays this, I might have F5. Let's go get off the diagonal. He's going to play... Oh, if he plays knight D6, I can take it. That's actually pretty useful. Go here. Knight D6, I have B6. I also have ideas of knight D5 to C3. I'm still way behind on time here is the real issue, I would say. Not sure what he's thinking too much about. Oh, he does end up doing this, okay. Let's do this and protect here. Take back with this pawn, probably. I want to kind of keep the E5 square under control. Alright, B6, trying to get rid of the protection of the knight. I'm going to try to take here, I think. Okay. Yeah, we're just very passive here is the real issue, though. Queen H7 maybe to hit D3. This knight's just really strong, though. It's the big issue. Maybe pick up the pawn. Now, at the very least, I got rid of the D3 pawn. The position's opened up a little bit. Maybe the queen can go to G7. That's really annoying, isn't it? Yeah, we're just really slow at this point. Okay, well, I think white definitely has the better position. He can just play C7 here. Okay, well, let's analyze the game, see what we can get from it. So knight F3. I think the opening is fine. I do think I have maybe a slightly better position in this kind of position. I'm kind of close. I've kind of kept his bishop out of the game. Kind of closed things down here a little bit. I did knight to D7, which I think is fine. He goes bishop to A3. I played F6. I really do think my position's fine here. He traded off his bishop that wasn't doing a whole lot, but my bishop was also not very active either at the same time. So when he goes knight to D2, knight to C5, knight E4, I ended up trading and playing bishop F5. I think probably knight B4 was the wrong way to do things here. I probably should just continue improving the position. Maybe rook to D8, maybe then knight to B4 at some point. But when I do allow him to play this A3 and B4 sequence, I think he kind of gets a little bit of an improved position compared to what he had a moment ago. My thought here with knight to B4 was that if he took the pawn, I was planning to play bishop takes D3. And if he tried to move A3 now, I was planning to do something like probably rook to D8, or maybe the other rook to D8 so that the A7 pawn's protected. Because now if his knight moves, I can play knight C2, which is really good. If he takes my knight, I'll take back, and I have some, some active pieces in the center, which looks pretty good. So that was kind of what I was thinking, but he played knight H4 and just kind of stopped my idea. So then after bishop E6, he does get A3 and B4. Usually in this kind of structure, in this kind of Benoni type structure, if white can accomplish this kind of setup, then it kind of, gives him some better chances on the queen side. Usually black should be trying to play on the king side because black has a pawn majority on the king side here, especially these 4 versus white's 3. So that is part of the reason why I was also doing things like, I moved the queen first, I moved the queen back to D7, so queen D6 was a little wasted. But eventually I played the move G5 in a little bit, kicking the knight back to F3. I still think my position is fine here, but what kind of ends up happening is I just... I kind of, white's able to eventually get the knight into D6, which was a really strong idea here. Bishop g6, c5, king h8, he gets the knight into c4, I go knight e7. I am preventing knight d6 now, though, because I could take here, and then I'll get this pawn back. d3 is weak, my rooks are active, so he can't go knight d6 right away. But I played rook to d8, he plays f4. I don't even know if f4 is that great for him necessarily. Maybe I should have just taken on f4, because if the queen takes, I can pick up d3. If he goes knight d6 anyways. The problem is b6 is not actually that great for me, because now it gives him a pass pawn. Whereas maybe I could do maybe like knight f5, let him take the pawn, and then go attack it. This does still give him a pass pawn as well, but it kind of cuts the board in half a little bit. I'm going to focus on the king side, while this knight is kind of not doing a whole lot. It's kind of hard to get it back towards the king side. If he does this, maybe just cover this, and I have a lot of counterplay here. But I was definitely very slow on time, or very slow in playing compared to the opponent. Gets the knight here, b6. I have to deal with the knight being attacked. It just ends up going to a very passive square. I was thinking about knight f5, but I was a little worried about bishop h3, but maybe this isn't even that big of a deal. Maybe I can trade here, and then maybe queen h7 to get out of the pin. But this is still a bit of an awkward position with my pieces all kind of boxed up. He goes to attack d4. We end up trading these pawns here. The problem is, again, his pieces are just so active here. The pass pawn is really strong, and I was just really far behind on time. So, well-played game by my opponent. I think the main things, though, I would say, at least for myself, would be understanding how to play these kind of structures a little bit better. Because I had the idea of attacking the d3 pawn, but I underestimated this knight h4 idea. So maybe a better move is like I said, rook to d8, a5, so b4 is harder to play. Those are usually some key ideas here. I do usually want to get the knight to this square, though, or one of these squares where I can attack the d3 pawn. So maybe g5, h6, queen h7 is another way to move towards that. So, anyways, though, interesting game, and yeah, we're right into the second round here. It says clocks will start in about 10 seconds or so, and here we go. All right, so against a grandmaster who must have lost his first game too, and very, very high rated for losing his first game, so he probably got kind of upset in the first round. Upset in the sense that he had probably a lower rated opponent he lost the game to. Okay, so we're playing our kind of ready system here. He's going for what is kind of known as I think it's called Romanish variation, where he gets his own fianchetto setup going here. I can simply play like knight e5, you know, forcing him to do something about the rook. So let's just go do that, poke the rook. If he goes to a7, there might be ideas of d3 and bishop e3. Here he does play c6, though, in order to defend the diagonal. The problem is now if his bishop goes to b7, it's going to be kind of hard for him to use that very effectively. He also can't play d6 yet to kick the knight out, because I can take on c6. So I think I'll just continue with d4, grabbing some space. He is threatening maybe d6 now, so I'm going to go b3 and protect my pawn so he doesn't attack it and then take it. All right, he does hit the knight. If I move the knight back to f3, there's c5 ideas at some point, but if I move the knight to d3, it's kind of a bit of an awkward-looking situation. Knight to d3 seems interesting, though. I'm actually going to go for knight to d3 here. I'm going to go ahead and castle. Work to play knight c3, threatening to take on b5 at some point. If he ever plays d5, I'll probably play c5. If I go knight c3, c5, I do have d5 maybe, or maybe I have e4 here as well. e4, though, he might play e5, and the center gets pretty shut down at that point. Let's go knight c3 and see what happens. He takes on c4 first, and then does play d5 or c5. I do have d5 here to kind of keep his bishop blocked out. I could also take his bishop, then play d5. That way I'm kind of closing the center. And I won't have the bad bishop at that point. So I actually kind of like the look of that. And then let's go d5 here. I also have ideas of queen a4, pinning the knight and going after the pawn on a6. So takes. I'm going to take back with the pawn. Probably play e4 pretty soon. He's probably going to play g6. I think it's good to fianchetto the bishop here. But I can play like maybe bishop f4, or maybe again queen a4, going after the a6 pawn. So queen a4. If he fianchettos, I take rook b6. Go back here. I think that's fine for me. I think we're going to try to take advantage of him being behind on development here a bit. And again, we're also just pretty slow on time. It's a little hard to commentate all of this and stuff like that. Rook here. I kind of now like the idea of knight b2 to c4, but the problem is... Let's see, if I go bishop f4, I think I'm going to go bishop g5 here. I'm going to go rook b1 and look to get rid of this rook on the b file. Rook b1, trade the rooks. He hits the bishop. If I take, the queen has to take. And then I have like knight e4 and rook b1 ideas. I actually kind of like the look of that. Let's hit the queen. Rook b1. This knight's pinned. I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that the knight's, that black's behind on development here. Even rook b1 right away would have been an idea, honestly. Because after rook takes, queen takes, I would have had rook b8 check, king e7, rook b7, and he would have been in a lot of trouble there. I think he's still in trouble at this point, though, honestly. Because if the queen retreats... There's ideas of rook b1. Maybe rook b1 right away was even better, though, honestly. Queen f5, rook b1 looks really strong. Yeah, he has to go back to d8. So rook b1, bishop g7. Then I can take on c5, maybe. Okay, we have to play fast here, though. So he goes bishop e7. Yeah, I don't think moving the knight to this square was actually that helpful for me. I don't know. I should have. Yeah, I think I'm just letting him back in the game at this point. Rook b1 does look still pretty good, though. Rook b1 actually almost threatens to trap the queen. Almost. Yeah, I don't think knight e4 was that great. I think rook b1 instead of knight e4 would have been really strong, actually. Let's get the center, I guess. He's going to play rook b8, probably. He's going to play bishop d4, and I'll go king g2. Let's go here, and maybe we'll be able to get the b file. The bishop on d4 looks good, but it's not actually targeting anything. And I'm keeping him tied down to the, he needs to keep protecting the d6 pawn, which is a bit annoying for him. You gotta go back and protect that, I guess. Queen b6 maybe would work. He can play bishop e3 here, though, or just pick the pawn up. That's quite annoying. Hit that pawn. And we're just low on time here once again. Two tough opponents at the start. International Master and Grandmaster, both 2,700 plus kind of thing. Okay, so let's kind of check out the opening here. So knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, g3, a6, bishop g2, b5. We do go knight e5 and hit the rook, and then d4. I think we had a pretty good opening here. Yeah, I was deciding between knight d3 and knight f3, and I think I picked the better option of the two. Knight f3, he could just probably just develop and castle and be fine, whereas with knight d3, if he plays like bishop e7, because I have this bishop opened up still, I can play like e4 without the knight blocking the bishop off. I could also play knight c3, where I'm now threatening to take on b5. There might be this... well, I guess if I take your queen a5 check works, but... you know, there might be some ideas like that. Maybe, again, like e4. But once he plays knight d7, I did castle. He played rook b8. I think he's just really lagging on the development of the king side. He's working to open up the center when I'm just ahead on development. Maybe for that reason, I should take on c5 instead of playing d5. Maybe taking here, he takes back, bishop f4 looks pretty strong. Maybe he would take on g2 first and then take back. But then again, bishop f4 gaining tempo still looks pretty good. So I traded and played d5. I think this is still okay. But then he plays g6, queen a4 looks strong, rook b6, bishop g5. Yeah, I think this is where he... Yeah, this is where I think he really messed up. I think he should just play bishop g7 because then he can castle as quickly as possible. Here, though, after h6, and I make the trade, yeah, knight e4 has the downside that the queen can just go back, and I don't really have a big threat. But like I was saying, I think rook b1 is just really, really strong here because I'm threatening to take the rook due to the pin. If he had taken on b1, I would take back. He can't take the knight due to simply, like, rook to b7, for instance, and this is already going to be checkmate. He has no good way to protect the knight. And if he doesn't trade the rook, I guess he could go back to d8. But the difference in this case versus the game is I still have the knight on c3, so I can play rook to b1. And then after the queen goes somewhere, I can play maybe queen takes a6 and rook b7. Maybe queen c6 is also strong. This is going to be... This is game over pretty much. I'm going to promote. So yeah, I definitely rushed the knight e4 move. It looks really good because it's, you know, moving the knight away, making a threat, and then I play rook b1. But the problem is the problem is I can't take on b6 and then play rook b1 again. If I could take on b6 and then play rook b1, if this was safe, which it's clearly not, and he had to do similar stuff to the game, or similar stuff to the variation we just looked at, yeah, I could have a pretty strong position at this point, I think. Take, again, if the knight moves, you have check, and then c7. If the queen doesn't, you know, if he tries to protect the queen, you can just do something like this. And again, black is in a ton of trouble here. So I think he made a big mistake here with h6, and then I didn't punish it correctly. I should have played rook b1. Once we kind of reach this position, it's kind of back to being equalish. I would say that I still have the advantage here for sure. Maybe I should have also played rook b7, which would have been a lot more better than knight c4. Queen a4, once again, in all these situations, I should be going back to the queenside play. I probably shouldn't even bother with kingside play at this point, even though a lot of the times in these, once again, this is kind of another Benoni setup. We're seeing actually the first two games both being this kind of Benoni structure that's got some similarities to the previous game we were looking at. Yeah, I probably shouldn't bother with kingside play at all. And then this is probably still a relatively equal position, but you know, he was just up way more time at this point. I was thinking about playing king f3 to protect the pawn, but then something like this is just really strong. So I have to go back and protect it. He gets the pawn. I'm getting threatened with queen g1. So I mean, I just kind of compounded some mistakes here, not playing correctly on the queen side. But I think the big chance we had here was rook b1 right here. It's easy to see the queen taking or the queen threatening the knight and think that, oh, we have to defend that. But we can actually counterattack with a much stronger idea, and this would be this would have been like a very strong position for me. I think black is just lost here. If he goes for the a7 square, I can just do something very similar. Black is just essentially lost at this point. Maybe even knight e4 is better. That way I don't even lose the knight. Rook b7, knight takes d6. Black's losing. So this is a case of an opponent who's falling behind on development and not being like worried enough about the position. He should have played the he should have, instead of h6 here, which is just very non-developing, you know, it's not helping his development process. He should just play like bishop g7 or e7 so he can castle right away. Whereas right here is a very instructive position with rook to b1 being the strongest move. I saw it after playing knight e4 and queen d8, and I realized rook b1 would have been better. But you know, when you mess the move order up, that does make the difference, and you can't take it back later on usually. So overall, I was relatively happy with this game, but you know, it kind of hurts a little bit to miss this winning move here. It looks like. Okay, so here we are with the third game. Not playing a 2700 rated IM or a GM in this third game here. Playing against Anime, rated 2172. Let's go ahead and play the Sicilian defense here. They're playing the Alapin variation, so let's hit the pawn in the center. I'm going to go knight c6. Probably go for d5 pretty soon. e5 and d5 looks fairly strong just to get pawns in the center. We've essentially changed from doing a Alapin setup to now more of a almost like a King's Indian defense. Usually this bishop would be on g2 though instead of e2. E2 feels a bit passive for sure in this kind of setup. So we're gonna just castle and stuff like that. I'm gonna go h6 so that I can play bishop e6 without knight g4 being annoying. He plays b4. He's threatening b5 and then taking on e5 ideas. So I'm going to play a6 here just to kind of prevent the b5 idea. If he wants to start trading pawns and stuff like that, I'm okay with it. Let's go bishop e6. I do have some ideas of playing c4 here. I'm actually leaning towards playing c4 here. The idea being c4, pawn takes. Instead of taking back on c4, I take on e4. Knight takes, queen takes, f5, e4, and white kind of gets chased around a bit there. A little bit of the drawback in this specific situation, I think, is that he is able to hold on to the pawn on c4, whereas if the bishop was fianchettoed, like I said earlier, I think c4 is a little stronger. So let's just kind of play rook c8, just kind of, eye the queen. Looks like he is going to just lose a pawn at this point, though. Rook to d1 eyes my queen. However, I can take on b4 here. And we're punishing him for being lined up on the c-file. You can just play knight takes b4, attacking the queen. Knight takes b4, I guess queen b3, but then I have d takes e4, attacking the queen. So yeah, that doesn't work out for white too well. He's got to go back to b1 most likely. And then we'll just go back to c6, I think. Taking here and then playing c4 doesn't really work out because I can play knight f4 attacking the bishop. He can't take e5 because I'll take on g2. And now I think I can just play something like f6. And I can just hold this pawn in place pretty much. f6, and then bishop d3 going after, bishop f5 going after the d3 pawn probably. Again, another, not the same pawn structure, but kind of another similar idea of going after a backward d3 pawn. In the previous one, it was on d6, and the first game it was on d3, so pretty interesting to see the same pawn structure repeated a lot. I think I am going to just hold the pawn here in place. Bishop f5, knight b4, bishop f5 probably first in order to pin the pawn. But then knight b4, hit the pawn. He goes g3. I can always throw in a check and see where the king goes. If he goes to h1, I can take f2. He has to go to g2. If he takes my knight, I'm pretty happy with that because then he won't be having a defender of the d4 pawn anymore. If he goes to g2, he might even just go like queen b6, and I don't see a great way to protect that pawn. Or king g2, bishop c5. Well, bishop c5, he has knight e4, I suppose. But yeah, king g2, queen b6 looks pretty annoying for him. So he's probably going to take it here, I would imagine. Probably going to end up taking the knight. He is thinking for a while, though. Not entirely sure what he's thinking. I'm also still behind on time. I have a pretty consistent theme of doing commentary and taking a little bit of time to explain what I'm thinking about. Probably gonna have to ramp the speed up pretty quick. I'm not really sure if he can't play king h1. It's really the decision between these two. King g2, maybe he's calculating to see if queen b6 is a problem, but I think it's a case where he just kind of needs to move. I'm not really sure if thinking for... He's probably going to have thought for almost a minute at this point. Thinking for a minute on one move seems like something that I'd be doing more than him. I've thought for like, 30 seconds, 28 seconds on a couple different moves here, stuff like that. Now he's behind on time. Okay, I don't know if he had to like... I don't know if he had to like use a bathroom break or something. Okay, knight b3. He wants to play d4. I can play bishop g4 to pin here, and then he has to go back to d2. And then I can maybe find a way to take advantage of that. So he can't play d4 yet because he'll take the knight. So he has to go back to d2. If I go knight d4 right away, he'll just take with the bishop, so that doesn't really do much. This guy's pinned. Bishop b4 threatens to take the knight on d2 and then on f3, but he can play like rook c1 and get out of that idea. Knight d4, bishop takes. I could also play like b5, hoping he trades, and then I can play queen d5 soon. Okay, anyways, we gotta play quicker. Doesn't really, we also just thought 30 seconds on a move, so queen f5 is an idea. Okay, let's just hit this pawn. He can't really move this that easily. If he goes knight e4, I can play queen f5 attacking the knight again because it's pinned. I guess queen f5, yeah, is knight h4, which is a bit annoying. He's thinking, just like me, really long, but I think he's going to find himself in some trouble here if he thinks too much more. So he does do that. Let's just go poke the knight. He's probably going to play knight h4, I imagine. Back to e6. Throw in a check. Hit the knight. Once the knight moves, bishop c5 looks good. King has to go like e2 or e1, which looks terrible. Okay, well, this is going to be winning a pawn at the very least. Let's go e4 to open up the center. Take on f3 with discovered check. Take here. No need to get fancy here. I'm just going to win the piece and play e3 and bishop b4 or something like that. It looks like he's going to lose on time. Okay, so we finally get our first win, 1 out of 3. Considering the circumstances, I guess I'm okay with this, though the second game would have been a nice win. Okay, let's go ahead and analyze this one. Let's see here. So we have a Sicilian defense. He plays the Alapin, so usually here white will try to get the 2 pawns in the center, or at least play e5 and get the pawns on d4 and e5. This opponent plays d3, though, which feels very, very passive. Usually the opening goes like e5, knight d5, d4. The compensation here is that, if you do this exchange, black has a nice knight on d5, though white has extra space, and black is going to work towards attacking the center pretty soon. But d3, knight d2, and this kind of situation is just, it's kind of like a reversed King's Indian defense, especially if white goes g3 and bishop g2, which is usually what he'll do here. But usually white doesn't want to be behind on space. It's like a bad version of the King's Indian defense because he's the one that's just behind. Bishop e2 is very passive, though, just from a standpoint of where the bishop wants to be. It wants to be on g2 so he can take on d5 and then have an open diagonal. So here I'm just kind of developing, castling, a3 from white, h6, b4, a6 just to stop him from playing b5, queen c2, bishop e6, he goes here. I was thinking about the move c4 during the game, but I guess it doesn't work out as well as I would like. This is kind of the sequence I was looking at. The problem is white can simply play knight d4. The bishop is protecting this. Plus the other issue is white can play rook d1 or something like that. I move the queen, then knight d4. And I don't really have a whole lot going for me. I have some extra space maybe in the center, but I'm down a pawn in that case. So I think it's better, like I did, just to play rook c8, kind of eye the queen. And so in this case, white has to watch out for pawn takes b4, and he misses that threat. So we're able to win the pawn. Move the knight back. We're simply up a pawn. He can't win the e5 pawn because the knight on f4 is attacking the bishop. And then we just defend the pawn. And knight h3 check. This is just a really bad position for white. We're just up a pawn. He has weaknesses. We have the bishop pair. We have this light square bishop, and white has no defender of the king side. This is just pretty rough looking. Probably queen f5 is not the most accurate move. Maybe it's better to do like knight b4, or maybe I could even take the knight and play queen h3, and now the king is kind of stuck in the center of the board. Anyways, though, at the point in the game where we're down on time like this, we still get a very strong attack opening up the center of the board, and white's just lost at that point. So, anyways, though, we have 1 win, 2 losses. We're against another grandmaster here in the 4th round, playing against Vladimir Potkin. Looks like from Russia, rated 2555. Let's go ahead and play knight f3. I'm going to try to make a point to play a little quicker during this game, because I have been falling behind on time in the other games here. Takes on a4. I think the idea here, I'm going to go with this queen to c2, attacking the pawn. After a6, let's go knight e5. I'm preventing b5 because I hit the rook, or I would hit the rook. And I'm going to look to either take on c4. I'm actually going to hold off on taking on c4 because he could play knight c6. I'm going to play knight a3, actually. I want to take back with this knight on c4. And I'm kind of preventing the knight and the bishop from developing. We put black into a little bit of an awkward spot here. Let's go ahead. Castling. Maybe he plays rook a7 for b5. So I'm actually going to go for d3 here. If he does go rook a7, I have ideas of bishop e3 or bishop d2. He plays knight e5, or sorry, knight d5, trying to block off this, so he has ideas of b5 here. I'm going to go for bishop d2. If he goes b5 and knight a5 is an idea, he hits the knight. Okay, I'll retreat the knight. Where do I move the knight to? I guess I'll go back to f3. He'll probably just go knight c6 here. Let's go ahead and castle. So he is going to be able to kind of untangle his position a bit. He can play e5 and kind of have a little bit more space than I do. However, I'm going to go a3, e3. I do have to watch out for b5, though, if I do those 2 moves. My knight's a little misplaced. Let's actually go knight e3 first. I'm going to offer a trade of pieces. He'll probably play bishop e6. I'm going to trade here. Go bishop here, poke the pawn. And I want to play knight d2. And we've kind of gone from a ready opening. Now it's more like a proxy bind. It's almost like he's playing white against my... It's almost like he's playing against my Sicilian defense, sort of thing. So knight to d2. I want to take here and play maybe queen b3 or something like that. If he goes knight d4, I'll end up taking the knight. But the idea here is to take this, swing the rook over, play on the queen side most likely. And look to pressure the c5 pawn especially. So he avoids the trade. Not a bad idea necessarily. Usually this trade will want to be avoided a lot of times in this kind of situation. I'm going to go rook c1. Poke the pawn a little. If he goes knight d4, I'll go queen d1, hold this pawn in place. And I'll also be threatening like bishop takes b7 at that point. Knight e4 is an idea to hit the pawn here as well. Queen a4 is an idea too, because then he can't play b5 because I'll take the pawn. So actually queen a4 is looking fine. I'm now threatening bishop takes c5. If he goes knight d4, I could trade the queens. He can't take on e2 because I have king f1. So this is actually a little bit of a threat now, at least. If he plays b6, I'll probably just snag the pawn there, I think. And then I'll be attacking b6. So this is a little bit of a problem, I'd say. A lot of these moves are like very typical for black against white's Maroczy bind setup. The kind of weird thing is I'm on the opposite side of the board. So pattern-wise, I'm thinking about all these pieces as being black pieces almost, because I'm usually used to black having the black playing against the Maroczy bind rather than the other way around. But a lot of the ideas are the same. I want to play knight e4, go after this. I want to play a3 and b4. I want to play f4. Those are certain pawn breaks I want to work towards. He does end up going for this, which is a bit interesting. So his idea is if I take the pawn, knight b4, I think. Queen b7 offering a trade, and then I might run back to like f3. F3 goes to g4. So maybe knight b4 is the idea. I need to make my mind up really fast if I'm going to do this or not. I think it's fine though, honestly. Like, all right, I'm gonna be a bit greedy and go for it. If we go queen a5, what's his idea? He can't take on a2. If he goes bishop d8, I'll go to a3 and c5 set. I'm threatening to play a3 right now. If he goes bishop d5, I can just take it, I think. If he goes back to c6, I take b5. So my main idea is just to play a3, kick him out, and take b5, essentially. He has to figure out how he's dealing with that. He goes knight d5, okay. So rook a8 is a threat. This is going to look weird, but I'm going to play a4, trying to get my queen out. Queen b5 is an idea if he plays b4 queen here to try to get out somehow. b4 also, I have bishop takes c5. Maybe. Takes here, take back. I'm threatening this now. b4. There's also no rook a8 anymore, so that's actually pretty good. All right, so we're up a pawn. Let's go ahead and hit here. Go protect this. c4 is a bit annoying. This is going to get really messy, I think. All right, I feel like I have to give this pawn up. Okay, I'm down a pawn, but maybe I can do something with the d5 square. There are ideas of taking the bishop. There are ideas of taking that guy. There's ideas of having the bishop being pinned. All right, we'll go back to a1. Taking f5 is an idea. e4 now to open up the position is an idea. I don't know what that move's about. Get out of the center. Protect this, I guess. This is really ugly looking for the moment. Let's go protect the pawn, I guess. This is really not ideal. Let's do this. Go hit the rook. Oh, he could have taken the pawn. Okay, this is going to look super passive, but we're going to see what we can... Okay, he's threatening to take that. This is really not an ideal situation by any means. Yeah, this is not looking so great. King e5, knight c4, though. Do have knight c4 here. There's no bishop e5. I'm not lost yet. I want to trade bishops. Now I'm not necessarily losing anymore. Let's pin the bishop just to see what happens. All right, we're just playing really fast at this point. I'm honestly fine with the draw here. I'm gonna pin this bishop, or sorry, not pin him, but I'm not playing G. Oh boy, this gets really awkward here, doesn't it? Oh, we just lose on time. It's so brutal. I'm in a little bit of a zugzwang here, which is awkward. If I move this way, he has rookie. I guess I move this way. He can check and pick up the pawn on G4, though. I'm really curious what the computer says at this point. I have a feeling I'm just probably okay. It says black's a little bit better throughout all of this, but I mean, black is up a point, so he should be. But the fact that I was able to get from that rough position all the way to this situation where I'm doing fine here. Yeah, king h7, I need to go this way, because if he does this, well, this is just a draw automatically. I need to work towards trading the rook is kind of what I have to do. Or just push g6 here. I'm always a little worried about g6, because then I almost, if the bishop was on f6, I'd get mated here. But yeah, time is the enemy, of course, in blitz. So let's go ahead and analyze this game, though. So knight f3, d5, c4. I think the opening goes pretty well. I'm relatively happy with, how the opening is at this point. Go ahead and play bishop to d2, f6. Knight back to f3. So maybe bishop a5 is interesting here, because now after the queen moves... Well, still, if I go back to f3, knight c6 is annoying. I wonder if I could play e4, and now this knight's actually a little bit trapped. If he goes here, maybe I take, something like this could be an idea. But I don't know. This still feels like black should be fine. But I do have extra space in the center, so maybe that's some compensation. When black does get f6 and e5, black has a bit more space here, but I think overall I was not particularly unhappy. I'm behind on space, so it's a little bit awkward. But once I won this pawn, and then I'm just up a pawn at this point, a4 to get my queen out. Yeah, I'm just up a pawn, which I'm pretty happy about. Maybe knight e4 is not so great, because now c4 and bishop g5 is getting strong. Maybe knight c4 is the better way to do things. The queen moves, probably queen a7 to go for a trade. If he keeps avoiding the trade here, maybe I can poke around or something like that. So yeah, maybe knight c4 instead of knight e4 is a bit of an improvement here. I don't really need to win this pawn anymore, and it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to win it anyways, because he's got a lot of protectors. But if I can prevent this counterplay and still focus towards the queen side, that's probably the side of the board to focus on here. Queen a6 probably right here as well forces the trade because of the pin. But yeah, once he gets f5 and c4, now the position is very messy at this point. d4 is probably not the best move. I'm just kind of low on time, and I have to play a bit fast. He wins this pawn back, and I'm poking around here, making some pins, just being generally annoying. He messes up and gives me a pawn here. Maybe I shouldn't trade queens. Maybe trading the queens is the wrong move. Queen e2 is probably just better. And then queen g4, and maybe go take advantage of his king being a bit weak. But yeah, we're up a pawn, but his pieces are very strong here. My knight's very kind of useless. Maybe the move is like bishop d5 to trade pieces or something, because after this, I can go get the pawn back pretty soon. So maybe that's an improvement. But yeah, we don't want to be stuck passive here by any means. This is just a very unfun looking position. He wins this. I get the check and check. Knight c4. I mean, this is a winning position for him for sure, but I'm really just trying to throw out some moves as quickly as I can. Get this skewer here. He's completely winning, of course. Get the pin just to be annoying. I do pick up this pawn, which makes things a little bit trickier for him, and then we're able to trade off a pair of bishops, which I think helps me a lot. I think once we get around here, we're kind of drawish, I would say. We might have almost had a repetition at some point, because some of these positions look very familiar. But I think I was planning to play like g6 at some point, but I was always worried about this happening, and now my king is kind of stuck. I'm not actually sure if there's a way to deal with it. I'm not actually sure if there's a way to defend against the threat in that particular case. Anyways, though, he works his king kind of behind. Whoa. I don't know why the moves are jumping like that. He ends up kind of working his king behind towards the G4 pawn. What's going on? I don't know if chess.com server is lagging or something. It's kind of jumping around here a little bit. Once he gets the pawn king behind here, I should still be fine though. I mean, maybe I could just play. Oh, okay. I don't know if it's my internet or chess.com. It might be chess.com. I have a feeling it's on their end. But yeah, it's a difficult position for sure. But probably I should be able to get a draw if I had, if you have more time. So some tough games so far. 1 out of 4 at this point. Well, it looks like the connection issues are still occurring here. Not really sure what the problem is. I'm not really sure why the tournament even continued at this point. Another game popped up, but again, just connection issues all over the place. So this may just end up being an abbreviated version of the Title Tuesday. Of the first 4 games I played, it says I have 2, but that's only because the previous game I really shouldn't have won because of the connection issues. But of the first 4 games I played, hopefully you enjoyed them. If there are more games in this video, then that'll mean that the connection issues were fixed or that the server issues were handled. But I don't really foresee that occurring. It may just end up being a shortened Title Tuesday here. So, anyways, though, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If that's the case. If the video is longer than what I'm saying right here, then they fix things. But, at the very least, I'll kind of round things off here. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope everybody enjoys it and has a good rest of the day, and I'll see you around in another video. All right. Bye, everybody.